Hey everybody, this is Kevin Jones.
And this is Alison Jones, and thank you for joining us on the Relationship Rundown channel.
Don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, you can always reach us at therelationshiprundown@gmail.com. All right, y'all. So today we're just going to tell you about us. How can we start a channel without actually telling you about the people that are delivering this incredible information? So like I said, I'm Kevin Jones, and my beautiful wife here, who I met, 30 years ago for the first time.
Yikes.
I
was underage.
Yeah. We haven't been together that long. So I met her. She just didn't like me.
Okay, first of all, not true. Not true.
She doesn't remember.
No, you're redirecting it. I do remember what was going on that summer. So why don't you start from how we met and then we'll fill in. So you can't say I didn't like you when there was a whole lot of things going on that summer.
All right, so y'all understand I was a player, right? Oh, by the way, shout out to Tracy Lee on his new album, Expect the Unexpected.
Ain't you?
If you don't have it, Howard alum, attorney, remember, it's party time. Well, he's back with the new hotness. Check out his album. It's on all streaming media. Anyway, back to the story. You know, I was being the man. I was at a car wash in the summer of 89.
89.
And I saw this young lady. I thought she was in the Jag. She reminded me that she was in a Volvo, but she was out there in some Daisy Dukes.
Untrue.
Washing her
Revisionist
car,
history.
getting real wet by the self-serve car wash. And me and my boy,
First of all, let's back up. Because I did not wear Daisy Dukes. So anybody that knows me, this was the summer I graduated from high school.
Baby, we
I
only
was pretty
give
much
10
a
minutes.
tomboy.
So let's
You
get back
added
in
it.
it.
Didn't you add it?
All right,
Don't be trying to tell
go
me
ahead.
what to say.
All
You're
right,
not
go
just
ahead.
going to let you have this messed up story. And I had on some cutoff shorts.
Same as Daisy Duke.
That is true. They were not Daisy Dukes.
Mm-hmm.
So I need everybody out there, if you know the difference between Daisy Dukes and a pair of cutoff denim shorts that you would wear to go wash the car, mow the lawn, etc., please respond in the comments, because I was not wearing Daisy Dukes. But anyway.
All right, so she had some, she was looking very nice at the car wash, so I said,
true.
let me go talk to her. Bet my man I can get the number. Of course, I go over and I get the number.
And that's all he got. But
True.
anyway.
Anyway, I called her once or twice. She invited me to come over to her house. She showed me, I think, the hallway, the living room. We sat on the front porch, talked, and that was about it.
Okay, well, let me explain what was going on my summer. So this was the summer between my senior year and I was going away to Howard. Shout out to HU. And I had worked from the time I was 14, and I just knew that I just wanted to have a summer that was just free and clear. And that way, when I went away, I could just be on the grind. So where he takes it a certain way, I was in just a whole different mind space. So, you know, it's all about the interpretation and the perspective. I was just being open. And he was trying to get something anyway, and I was a good girl, so that wasn't going to happen.
True. So, nothing kicked off. And then again, sometime a couple years later, I'm at Coppin, CSU or CSC back when we were there. But, you know, anyway, a friend of mine was like, oh, shout out to Bogey if you peep this out. But he was like, man, I'm in love with this young lady.
Shout out to Nas. Who was my BFF at the time.
But she bringing a girlfriend with her. I need a wingman. I said, man, I don't do the wingman and I don't do blind dates. But, of course, that's my man. I'll go along. So, we get to the location and it was, what's the fish fry place? Anyway, doesn't matter.
Lake Trout.
Oh, yeah, Lake Trout.
On Ricetown Road.
And we get to Lake Trout and...
Shout out to West Baltimore.
And who is it? The side young lady, her girlfriend? This young lady again. So immediately, I'm like, oh, I know her. And they end up...
still in love.
I wouldn't say all that. So they go off to do what they went to do, and me and her end up sitting on the side of Lake Trout.
They didn't do anything. That's slander.
I don't know what they did. I said, I don't know what they did. They went off and did whatever they did.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So anyway, we sat on the side of Lake Trout, talked.
In the parking lot.
That was it. That was it, right? So anyway, that's the gist of that situation. And then the next time I saw her in 98, Howard Homecoming at, I think it was H2O or anyway, y'all. Zanzibar. So at the top of the steps of Zanzibar, by the steps, there's a throne. And I'm sitting in the throne.
No, I was in the throne.
I'm in the throne.
Are you crazy?
Whatever
I was
the
in the
case
throne.
is, she was coming up the steps.
No.
And when I saw her, I hit her with the...
Revisionist history. Fake
She
news.
was like, hey. I was like, nice to see you. Keep it moving. 3 strikes is a wrap, shorty. It's a wrap, right?
He was
So
like,
I'm
here's my chance.
Man, plus, I don't know what it was. It just was... I might have been a little intoxicated. Who knows what was going on? Just nothing popped off. So anyway, on to 2001, right? 9/11 happens. And back in the mid-90s, I used to be on this site called Love at 808. Ooh, I can't even talk. Love at AOL. Used to be Match. I mean, what it is now, I guess, Match.com, right?
Yeah.
And she was perusing pages, I assume, in 2001, and she
You act like I was trolling.
She was trolling. She saw my picture.
Untrue.
And she hits me up in 2001.
And what was, I guess, the DM back then? It wasn't a DM.
Yeah, so she sends me a message. So she sends a message with a picture of her. And let me break this down.
No, that's not how it went down. What went down was I saw his picture. I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. We were the same age. He was from Baltimore. And I messaged him, instant messaged him. And I was
Jersey.
like,
I was raised in Plainfield, New Jersey. Big up, Jersey.
Sir, how you just going to break it?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I messaged him and I was like, oh, hey, what school did you go to? Where'd you live? Blah, blah, blah. We were going back and forth. And then I said, hey, let me send a picture of myself. Maybe I look familiar to you, because we weren't really getting anywhere with the back and forth exchange. And so once I sent the picture, then he was like, oh, yeah, I know who you are. But before that, it was just trying to figure, we were trying to figure out.
No. When I didn't know who, she sent me a picture of her with a deep tan with cornrows. I had no clue who she was. In fact, we talked for weeks.
I was just coming off vacation.
Yeah, actually she...
Shout out to Danielle, Lene, Monica, because we were on our 30th year cruise together. Shout out to the crew.
So we talked for a few weeks. She had sent me the picture, didn't really recognize her. Looked familiar, but I didn't recognize her.
He recognized me as the love of his life.
So she always would put a quote at the end of her messages, and I never saw her name on her messages. So I said, can I ask you what your real name is?
Oh my God.
And she fussed at me talking about, it's at the bottom of my emails or my messages.
No attention to detail. That's
and I'm like, all I see is a quote. She's like, it's below the quote. Of course, I never read the quotes, so I never saw her name. So she told me what her name was, and it was Alison. And for all of our listeners, how many black Alisons do you know?
Plenty.
Exactly. 1.
That's not true.
And that's her. So I was like, ooh, I knew an Allison. I knew a black Allison. I knew a couple of Allisons,
like,
right?
This is my dream woman.
So I said, oh, I know. So what I did was said, oh, are you the one that lived? I said, matter of fact, I'm not even going to say that. I said, I'm going to send it in a poem. And I said, if this poem makes sense to you, I said, I know exactly who you are.
He used to be very romantic and write
So
poetry.
I sent a poem.
I haven't seen a poem since 2001.
That's terrible. That's a lie. So I send her a poem that says, this is where you lived close to this grocery store, all of it. So immediately she responds and says, I'm stalking her, or am I a stalker? Because, of course, she recognized everything I put in the poem, right? So inevitably, I
did not say you were a stalker.
Yes, she did. She asked me if I was a stalker.
Okay, so I did.
So anyway, now that I know who she is, we continue to communicate, and we decide to have our first date, our real date. Because this time we just been messaging. She lived in North Carolina. I was still living in Maryland at the time.
6.5 hour drive.
Yes. So we decided to, actually 7.5 if you look at it on Google Maps, but we're doing some crazy things. So our camera person's telling us we need to speed it up. So look, we ended up deciding to have our first date, and we decided to meet in the middle. She claims that she was scared for me to come to her house.
Yeah, I couldn't have him know where I lived, because if he turned out to be crazy and I was not able to get him out. Then he had my address. And again, I was a good girl, so, couldn't have people just coming to your house. And this was
For
back
TV.
in the day
Just
before
for
meeting
TV.
people on the internet was considered acceptable.
All right, so anyway, we got to keep it moving. So check this out. So we decided to meet in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, shout out to Takashi Rolak and Hannah Roberts, because it was Hannah's first birthday party, and Hannah is now at Winston-Salem State University.
So she invited me to go to a first birthday party while we were on our first date in Virginia Beach, right?
For your first date.
And she was, I guess, using that as a meter if I could be that man, get along with people she knew, all of that.
I needed witnesses.
Anyway, the point is, that was our first date, and it was all weekend. I did it big. I got this suite, you know what I mean? I got 2 beds because
got a suite because I said, if you don't have somewhere else for me to sleep and 2 beds,
got overlooking the water, and it was like late October, so it was the end of the season. Not a lot of places were open. Oh, let me tell you this quick story. First night we were there, she came, she said, I'm starving.
I was.
So I take her to a place and nothing was open except this one fancy Italian restaurant. And man, when I tell you the prices were absolutely crazy. We go in there and she's like, I'm starving. She pulls out the menu and she orders, for appetizers, shrimp cocktail. $28. I remember this.
I like seafood.
18 years later, I remember this. You heard me? 18 years later.
This is Rain Man behavior. I'm just
listen. And guess what? $28. She ate 1 shrimp. Normally, if this would have been a local date, I'd have kicked her to the curb. Done, over. But I stayed. And actually, we had a very good weekend. Would you say so?
It was a good weekend.
At the end of the weekend, I told her I was going to marry her.
He did.
He did. I passed the test. I went to the party.
He did good. Being that it was a 1-year-old birthday party that was not a relative to either one of us, he did very well.
So, that's the start of our relationship. It started from there. A lot of trips to North Carolina. We'll get into that later on. But that is how we actually got back together in 2001.
And then 6 months after our first date, he asked me.
Well, and we're going to talk about that in a later episode. I think we've run out of time. But this is one thing I want everyone listening to remember. If it's meant to be, it'll be. Think about it. From 89 to 2001, who knew I would end up with this woman? And now in 2019, 30 years after we first met, we are still together. So don't give up. If that person is meant for you, it'll happen.
I agree.
Well, y'all, that's our time. We love y'all. This is the Relationship Rundown. Check us out on relationshiprundown at Gmail. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, I'm Kevin Jones.
And I'm Alison Jones.
P.S. Don't forget to like us.
And subscribe.
And tell all your friends to watch us, because from episode 2 until infinity, you will be laughing your tail off. But hopefully you learn a lot about relationships. And hopefully we can help you to grow in yours. What is our old slogan or thing? What do? We maintain, sustain.
I have no idea.
We don't know, but we'll remember it and we'll come back to you.
And if you have any topics that you want us to cover, let us know in the comments, and we'll make sure that we get it into the future episodes.